This right here, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
Fox News alert, we just got a peek inside Obama's black book, and it turns out Barack knew the Russia hoax was a hoax all along, but
of course
pushed
he did.
it anyway to sabotage the Trump presidency.
Yes.
DNI Tulsi Gabbard declassifying pages and pages of documents, showing Obama's intel guys briefed him just weeks after the 2016 election that the Russians didn't actually sway the election. Quote, we assessed that Russian and criminal actors did not impact the recent U.S. election results. Criminal activity also failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. But Obama just couldn't accept that. So he and his staff instructed intel agencies to cook up new reports to support Russia collusion.
This is bad. Like, this isn't no bullshit. Like, this is bad stuff. This is really bad.
Quote, after the meetings, Clapper's executive assistant emailed intelligence community leaders, tasking them to create a new intelligence community assessment per the president's request that detailed the tools Moscow used and actions it took to influence the 2016 election. Tulsi Gabbard described what she found as a conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people. And she says the people involved should be prosecuted and has made a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. We knew Hillary created the dossier, and now we have proof that Barack was calling the shots and the documents to prove it.
Now, if you remember all of this stuff with Trump's been calling it out for years, and he's been dismissed for years. I found the clip that I was looking for earlier with Obama spying on his campaign, and CBS or 60 Minutes just ignores it and acts like it didn't happen.
Was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
There's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign. They got caught.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught. And you will see that, Leslie, was when they spied.
And of course, he was proven right on that. Now the Russia hoax has been completely exposed. And, you know, this is where we are. And now people are making memes of Barack Obama looking through his peephole and seeing the Team Trump there to pay him a visit. And yeah, I do understand the idea of like nothing's going to happen. I know people, you know, are skeptical of that, as you should be. But this is a huge process that's going to take some time. And I'm glad that Barack Obama is being exposed for the piece of shit that he is. Barack Obama did significant damage to our country. Significant damage. Trump posted this right here.
Intelligence today. Fox News Digital reporting the Obama administration allegedly manufactured and politicized intelligence to create the narrative that Russia was attempting to influence the 2016 presidential election. This reportedly happened despite intelligence stating otherwise. Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel has some stunning details tonight. Looking into it. This released today. Good evening, Mike.
Brett, good evening to you. DNI Tulsi Gabbard declassified documents today from before and after the 2016 election, promising they would show the American people how intelligence was politicized and weaponized by some key figures in the Obama administration. She talks about it in an interview airing on Hannity this evening.
You have some of the most powerful people in our country directly leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence.
According to the documents, August 31st, 2016, a Homeland Security official tells then DNI James Clapper that there was, quote, no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual.
I'm sure there was, and I'm sure there was it.
On September 9th, 2016, officials argue the presidential daily brief should make clear that Russia, quote, probably is not trying to influence the election by using cyber means to target election infrastructure. Then after the election, the tone appears to change. On December 9th, 2016, the documents reveal the Obama White House held a National Security Council Principals Committee meeting on a sensitive topic. It included then DNI James Clapper, John Brennan, the CIA director, Susan Rice, who was national security advisor, Andrew McCabe from the FBI, and others. After that, an email came out to Intelligence Committee leaders from an aide to Clapper saying the intelligence community was prepared to produce an assessment per President Obama's request to pull together the information intelligence agencies had about the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. By December 14th, there were leaks saying that intelligence community officials believe, quote, with a high level of confidence, that Russian President Vladimir Putin was personally involved in the U.S. election hack.
This is major. Like, this is huge. And this is what, like, I know what people want. People are like, we want Obama arrested immediately. We want a perp walk. We want all of that. I don't know if you're going to get that or not. I have no idea. What I do know is that Trump is going to continue to build a strong case, which is what he's been doing. Can you go back? Let's go back to 2018. And I know it's weird to think about it now, but try to take yourself back to 2018. Donald Trump did not have the political clout or the political team to pull off anything like this. He just didn't. That's just the truth. He did not have it. There's no way he would have been able to pull this off in 2018 with the team that he had around him and the power that he had politically. Now, here in 2025, he absolutely has the power, and he's building a strong foundation. Now, what this ultimately leads to, I have no idea. No one does. But it's a huge, huge positive shift towards hopefully holding some of these clowns accountable.
And on January 6, 2017, 2 weeks before the first Trump inauguration, a new intelligence community assessment was released that, according to the Office of DNI, quote, directly contradicted the intelligence community assessments made throughout the previous 6 months. Former President Obama's office declined to.
Yeah, I mean, so Obama's too busy doing shows with his buddy Big Mike. I guess Obama appeared on the Big Mike podcast. When, again, you got to be fair. Like, people are talking about like, Big Mike and Barry are getting a divorce, and I just push back against that. I think that, I mean, you're not going to find two people that are more compatible. Barry and Big Mike both get to share stories of how it is to be a black man in America. Both of them can share that with each other. They can both talk about, well, my struggle as a black man. And then, Big Mike can then say, well, here's my struggle as a black man. And then, Big Mike talks about, struggling with a ginormous grapefruit. And Barry says, yeah, I can't relate. I've got a little bitty teeny weeny, but it's like he learns from Big Mike. So like they're not getting a divorce. They're not getting a divorce. All right. It's not happening. So those are these are the things that Barry has to worry about right now. Okay. So.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy.
Mm-hmm. One dad.
No matter how good the dad
is. He can't be everything.
He can't be everything. And then that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Right. So.
No, but I did. I saw that whole thing with those two idiots on the podcast, and I was like, what in the hell are we doing? Here's Tulsi right here.
Essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people, who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. You have gone into great detail over these years of what the effects of this document and this decision have resulted in. Obviously, a years-long Mueller investigation that cost taxpayers almost $40 million, 2 congressional impeachments, endless smears and attacks against not only President Trump, but his family. He had senior members of his team who were investigated, some arrested and jailed. We had.
I do think this is very interesting. All right. So I'm going to assume that all of the typical YouTubers that never talk politics but jumped on the Epstein story, I'm going to assume that they're all going to talk about this story as well, right? I'm just going to assume that they're going to talk about this, right? You know, the Moist Criticals, the CoffeeZillas, the who's that other guy? Who's that other fucking guy that was a Twitch streamer, Mogul Mel or whatever? I'm sure they're all going to talk about this. I'm sure they're all going to talk about Barack Obama's campaign and the treason involved. Don't you think?
And increased tensions between the United States and Russia. The list goes on and on about the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicizing intelligence once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people in that election in November.
Now, to me, it sounds like you have appointed powerful bureaucrats that just flat out created a narrative that was false to undermine a duly elected president. Now, if that's not a grand conspiracy, I don't know what would be. Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the Department of Justice for further investigation, accountability, and action, not just investigation, but action. Accountability has to take place. The American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future of our ability to exist as the country that we know it. This accountability is critical to make sure that this never happens again. Exposing the truth and naming those who are responsible should drive that accountability that has to take place. I just want to mention quickly, Sean, you mentioned the Steele dossier. That plays a critical role in these documents that we released, specifically because James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, they all knew that the Steele dossier was discredited at this point. It's not something any intelligence professional looked to as something that could be referenced or should be referenced in any intelligence assessment whatsoever. I know that there were professionals who were told include the Steele dossier in this January Obama-directed manufactured piece of intelligence, and they protested to people like John Brennan and James Clapper. They were shocked that it would even be considered. The Steele dossier was used in this manufactured assessment that President Obama directed be created, along with many other pieces of intelligence that the intelligence community itself, for months leading up to the election, said this is not credible and should not be used at all.
We're going to have to see exactly what happens moving forward, because obviously this is this is a huge story. This is massive. I don't think people fully appreciate the level of what is happening right before our very eyes. I mean, this is crazy. And I don't know if that's why, like even TMZ is picking it up. So here we now, like it's gone beyond just like the right wing talking points and all of that. Now everybody is talking about this. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. James Comey Hey everyone, watch James Comey lie under oath in 2017 about the seriousness of Russian election interference. The memo that DNI Gabbard released proves clearly that Comey was lying during this testimony. He needs to be held accountable for the damage he did to this country.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts. And it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. And the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get, and is very, very serious, which is why it's so refreshing to see a bipartisan focus on that, because this is about America, not about any particular party.
So that was a hostile act by the Russian government against this country.
Yes, sir.
In that time frame, there were more than the DNC and the DCCC that were targets.
Correct. There was a massive effort to target government and non-governmental, near governmental agencies like nonprofits.
What would be the estimate of how many entities out there the Russians specifically targeted in that time frame?
It's hundreds. I suppose it could be more than 1,000, but it's at least hundreds.
So if you remember, Comey actually, right here is, I don't know if this is the clip or not. I don't know when this is from. Right here.
Life-altering. What did you mean by that? You called Trump's attacks against you life-altering. What did you mean by that?
Well, when the president of the United States aims at you, it changes your life a number of ways. Obviously, it gives him rental space in your head temporarily. I think I've now got him out over the garage in my mental space. But it causes people to aim at you, aim at your family members, which is my biggest concern, with hate, with...
You're the one that put 8647. You're the one that did it. God. I truly I hate these people, dude. I fucking hate these people. I really, really do. Like, it's absolutely fucking amazing how corrupt they are. It's so frustrating.
Bad language with social media abuse, and that's not a good place to be.
Are you worried about your security?
I am always worried about security. I'm a giraffe, so I stick out. But almost everybody I come into contact with is friendly and supportive, even if they see things differently than I do.
You're very tall. That's why you're a giraffe, right?
Yeah, I'm 6'8", and so I stick out in the crowd. But I worry most about people who haven't been through what I've been through. I've been through a lot of security threats in my career. I worry about the people the president targets who have never been through the rodeos I've been through. That has to be life-altering in a very bad way.
What advice do you have for others who find themselves on the receiving end of Trump's personal attacks?
Do two things at once that seem contradictory. Take it seriously, be clear-eyed about the threat, but don't let it come to dominate your life. There's a tendency when you are targeted to see the boogeyman under every bed on which you sit. Don't give him that. Don't give him the benefit of that. He wants to roar and have that effect on you. Shut it out. Be clear-eyed about the risks, but don't let this dominate your life. That's our lesson, I think, as a country. We ought not to let a lot of...
Oh, really? Oh, really? Well, then let's talk about where you were fantasizing about him going to prison before the 2024 election.
So a lot of people have suggested that there are a range of factors that would make it difficult to put a former... the system has not been tested in this way. Do you agree with that it would be difficult or nearly impossible for the law enforcement institutions to put him in actual jail?
No, they would just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population, but it's obviously doable.
See, I get, again, I'm trying to keep, I want people to understand that, the idea of Trump just locking all of these people up is a great kind of, it's a great thing to think about. And I truly cannot stand Comey or Obama or any of these clowns. But once Trump goes down that path, again, let me remind you that the Democrats and the left created a mini race war over George Floyd. a amateur porn star who was overdosing on drugs, who had a criminal record a mile long, and they built this person up to be a fucking hero to very stupid fucking people. They will weaponize this against Trump and cause so much damage to this country. And Trump is doing so many great things for this country right now. It will completely derail everything if he does it right now. That's just the reality of it. It just is. That's the reality of it. And that's why I don't think he goes down that road. But I want him to just as much as everybody else, because I can't stand these fucking people, man. I really, 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 really hate them.